Welcome to Food and Facilities, an online show for Planting to Processing Magazine, formerly West Coast Industrial Solutions Magazine. Watch what you read for safety, compliance, and innovation news within manufacturing, agriculture, food processing, and food and beverage industries. In this episode, we will be discussing the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, loan forgiveness with David Hathcote of Irwin, Jackson, Hathcote, and Wang CPAs. And we will be discussing research and development tax incentives with R&D tax incentives, Ron Beglin and Carole Burke. Welcome to Food and Facilities. I'm Tara Sweeney, the Marketing Director for Planting to Processing Magazine, formerly West Coast Industrial Solutions Magazine. And one of our sponsors today is Dynamic Coatings Incorporated. They're a concrete restoration and flooring solution. They are USDA, FDA, OSHA, and HACCP approved. You can visit them at www.dciflooring.com, or you can give them a call at their Sacramento location, 916-485-6800, their Oakland location, 510-352-7000, and their Fresno location, 559-225-4605, or their Los Angeles location, 562-634-9887. And my second guests today are R&D tax incentives, Ron Beglin and Carole Burke. Ron is the principal, and you can reach him at ron.beglin, ron.beglin at rndtaxincentives.com, or you can give him a call at 559-612-4343. And they're going to be discussing research and development tax incentives with us today. Welcome.
Hi, Tara.
How are you doing today, Ron?
Good.
Can you give our readers and listeners a little more information about you and R&D tax incentives?
We're a Fresno-based tax consulting firm here, and we specialize strictly in a few tax areas. We actually get referred in by CPAs because we're specialists in those areas. And the specific areas we focus on are research and development tax credits, which are a retroactive tax credit that employers can receive if they qualify. We actually do the actual study for the clients, and so we provide that to the clients as well as their tax preparer. So we work in collaboration with them. And we also offer a specific tax credit, which is called cost segregation, and it's for any business owners that own a building. It can be a significant tax savings for them. And so what we do is we specialize in both those areas, and then we're definitely a benefit for any employers that have any of those two criteria that would fit.
Can you give us some more information on the types of companies that you've done work for, or an example?
Yeah, certainly. We've got a nut processor that is, we did a tax credit study for. He brought in a brand new blanching line. This was a new process for them. From that standpoint, they had actually purchased over $3.5 million of equipment to have this blancher. But it was testing of the product to make sure that the end result was to the quality of the product they needed. And so from that standpoint, not only did the supply cost for the nuts they were using, but the wages of the employees, the consultant. And so what was nice is the product they were using for the almonds, they actually sold the almonds, but still got to use the supply cost as the tax credit. So it was some definite big benefit for the client. So it was a very successful product or study that we did for a client. Also have a nut processing equipment company. They actually created a customized equipment for this client. They use a lot of stainless steel equipment. They did the study, or we did a study for them, and they actually got $2.5 million back from the IRS and from the Franchise Tax Board, being that this was a retroactive tax credit, so it was a successful credit for them as well, and the big influx of cash back to the client.
And your colleague Carole Burke has a presentation about your company for us today?
Yeah, Carole's a tremendous asset. She's been a consultant for years in the payroll area, as well as she's now into tax credits, and so she's our business development officer that runs this, and she's a tremendous asset.
Well, thanks, Ron, for that great introduction. So our specialty at R&D Tax Incentives is really helping businesses reduce taxation. And one of the areas is cost segregation, which is an engineering study through the CARES Act. And this can really be one of the most advantageous tax strategies available to property owners. And what it does is it accelerates the depreciation of your building, of your new building, or if you're renovating an existing building, and it kind of brings it into a shorter category. So whether you bought a building, you're renovating an existing building, we can compress that 39-year cycle of owning a building, compress that depreciation schedule down to 5, 7, or 15 years. And what we do is a complete engineering study. So we look at blueprints. Are you using regular bulbs or LED lighting, carpeting or tile? All of this and more go into the calculation. And then we do a no-charge pre-analysis. So we show you your ROI and see if it makes sense to you. It's kind of like, I think about winning $1 million. You know, do you want it now or do you want it later? I think most people would say they want the $1 million now. So, and the nice thing with this is there's no amended returns, and it's a real tax deductible business expense. The other area that we specialize in is research and development tax credits. So what is it? It's a dollar for dollar offset of what you owe for federal and state taxes. So this is a tax law that was used to be for big pharma companies, but thanks to the PATH Act in 2016, this became a permanent law, and now it opened it up for other industries. But manufacturing, as you can see on this chart, is the majority awarded at about 62%. However, any company that is creating a product, developing a product, improving on a product or processes, any one of these can qualify. So whether you're information technology, you know, writing code, or professional tech service, startup companies, all of these can qualify for the R&D tax credits. So this was the chart that I was talking about. And then it does show that the manufacturing is about 62%. However, there are other industries that can also qualify for these tax credits. So regardless of what you develop or what you're improving on, the activities that you perform must pass each of these elements. So it has to be one of the components under each of these subcategories. So are you developing something entirely new or improving on a product, a process, or process improvement, computer software, technique, formula? Maybe you're inventing something. But when you're developing this product, did you have some type of elimination of uncertainty? So some type of capability or methodology, trial and error to improve the product. And what they're looking for is, you know, where was that uncertainty? And when you look at 2 and 3 kind of go together. So when you're doing this elimination of uncertainty, was there some type of evaluating of alternate designs, some testing of hypothesis? Maybe you're using 2 different approaches, or, you know, we did some testing to make the product better. The IRS just wants to see that you tried even though you failed. And then lastly, do you rely on technology when you're developing your product? So it has to be one of these hard sciences, either physical science, biological science, computer science, or engineering. And these are some of the examples of tax credits that we've helped recover. So from a fabrication manufacturing company to a specialty equipment developer, construction firms, software developers. We mentioned technology startup companies can also benefit from these tax credits. Wineries, one of my favorites, craft brewers. All of these we can help recover. Now, when we're looking at this fabrication manufacturing company, this guy had 6 engineers. Ron met him at a trade show. He had no idea that he qualified for these tax credit. And he's such a great guy. Instead of buying a boat or a big house, he actually started a fund for his employees' kids. So I thought that was pretty cool and definitely worth mentioning. So we do a complete feasibility study. This is all done free of charge, just to make sure that companies qualify within the law. So we ask for some high-level information at first during our discovery call, just to see the value of the study, and we go through these qualifying questions. So, are you creating something, or do you have an existing product that you're changing some processes or process improvement? Did you rely on those hard sciences? Was there that uncertainty? Did you utilize some process of experimentation? And this is a big one. Do you own the intellectual property? Because the company that owns the intellectual property gets the tax credits. So, and also, this is a provision to reward companies doing research and development in the United States. So your employees must be working in the United States, as well as if you have any type of contractors or subcontractors, part of their process can also be tax research and development tax credits. So, we're really here to help these companies get their well-deserved tax dollars back in their pocket. And because there is these are retroactive, so 4 years for state and 3 years for federal, it can be a real huge influx of cash to businesses, and especially during the time of COVID has been a huge help to a lot of our clients. So it really costs nothing to find out if you qualify. So give us a call and we'll walk through the process with you. Thanks, Tara, for letting me share this information. If there's you have any questions that our subject matter expert, Ron Beglin, can answer.
Thank you for sharing, Carole.
Yeah.
And Ron, would you say that the cost segregation would make long-term costs more viable, especially now, because it would give a little more liquidity to your clients?
Absolutely, and the area of this, we're doing this for the client, we'll look at the analysis, and number one, does it make sense for the client? If they don't have a taxation issue, then it's probably not worth going forward with this because there is a cost for the study. However, we'll determine that. I always kind of give a scenario that if a person is in their 20s and they buy a building, it's maybe not worth going through the study because they're probably going to look at using those, the depreciation for the full years you can get up to, it's within a 39.5-year period. However, if somebody's in their 40s, 50s, 60s, am I going to be in business for another 39 years? Is that even worth it? Well, why not compress it and take the advantage of it right then and there? So, and it's a carry forward credit, so it can really be a huge benefit for businesses. And there's some other tax benefits as well. So when we work in combination with a CPA, the nice part that you brought that out is that because this is an engineering study, this would pass audit. So the one thing we always do for our CPA partners, being that they are tax experts, they rely on us because we are bringing a compliant product to them that follows all the compliance within the IRS and for the Franchise Tax Board.
And a lot of our local organizations don't even realize that they're technically manufacturers and could qualify for these credits. What are some smaller organizations that you, like industry-wise, that you think would qualify?
Carole mentioned a few areas, anybody with technology, but in the food industry, there's a lot of companies that will have test kitchens, or they'll do some new, they're trying to look at different shelf lives that the texture and taste is not as well into the R&D part of it. However, if they're doing different packaging, different types of iterations, I have a company we work with that went into a new tub. So they were trying to put their product in a different packaging area that really was a big benefit for a tax credit. So when we talk to clients, we always look in their history. What have you done in the past 3 to 4, 5 years? What changes have you done that has come out with a product? And it might be that they just tried a new business component and it didn't work. Well, they spent a lot of money in that area. Why not give the benefit of what the credits could be for them? So we'll actually get in that and dive in and really work with the client to understand what their business model is.
And what would you say a lot of your clients have had issues with during the pandemic?
I'll tell you some areas that there are some companies that have just strived. I am working with a company that they create PPP equipment, and so their business component has just they've had a bumper year from last year, but others are struggling, and so I have some other equipment manufacturers that have slowed down. So what's happened in that sense is that they're looking for the cash. They are needing it. They also have applied for the PPP, and David was on earlier, and he's definitely an expert in that area. But the client might also need some relief or money they can get back from the R&D tax credits, research and development. So definitely it's something that we can provide the client and just do the analysis for them. So can be a tremendous asset for them and help them out on their bottom line.
Well, thank you for joining me today, Ron. If our viewers and listeners wanted to contact you and Carole, how would they reach you?
I can be reached, both of us can. I can be reached directly at ron.beglin at R&D Tax Incentives, and Carole as well, carole.burke at R&D Tax Incentives. I think we have information we can provide for that if there's anybody would like to get a hold of us.
Thank you for joining today, Ron, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. And our final sponsor for today is Fine Print Plus. They're your source for printing, packing, and promotion. 500 free business card with purchase of $20 or more for new customers if you mention this ad. And you can reach them at 559-237-4747. Give them an email at graphics@fineprintplus.com or request a quote at fineprintplus.com/quote. And now we will have a moment of silence for our Black Lives Matter community.